This is the News Track and I'm Maria Shakil. In a renewed diplomatic push, India-US trade talks are back in focus, hinting at a reset in one of the world's most important economic partnerships. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal is in Washington leading high-level negotiations. At the same time, External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar held talks with US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, marking the first top-level meeting since the US imposed 50% tariffs on Indian goods during the second Trump administration following India's purchase of the Russian oil. As discussions resume, India has made its position clear. The interests of its farmers are non-negotiable, and protecting farmers remains the government's top priority. With global alliances shifting and economic pressures mounting, one key question remains. Are India-US trade ties finally getting back on track? That's the question on the show tonight. But first up, a piece of breaking news which is coming in now. There is a piece of meeting. In fact, the meeting is going on between Dr. S. Jaishankar and Marco Rubio. This meeting is underway in New York City. This meeting is happening on the sidelines of the UNGA summit. Of course, as I said, this is the first meeting between the two leaders since the tariff standoff, and it becomes important because in the backdrop of all these developments, and it's also coming at a time when Piyush Goyal is leading Indian negotiations in New York. Karishma Sudani is joining us. So, Karishma, can we safely now say that the hope which is there in Indian establishment that before the year ends, there should be a bilateral trade deal between the two countries, if not a more, a strategic partnership deal?
Maria, definitely there's a very strong ray of hope because this has not come easy to us. We all know that Delhi and Washington have been trying their best for a really long time, but the pause that happened after the fifth round of negotiations in the month of July wasn't a great sign, and we were, because of our respective sticking points, we were at a point of deadlock where things seemed difficult to move. But the last two consecutive meetings, one of US Trade Representative, Assistant Trade Representative Brendan Lynch visiting New Delhi, and now Minister Goyal visiting Washington and New York, is a sign that trade talks are about to be escalated. Officially, negotiations could resume, and the hope is that before the year end, we may have some good news to conclude with. And this will actually, I don't know if it will make us tariff kings, but it makes us trade kings because we'll have UK, we'll have EU, hopefully, and US all in our basket when it comes to the deals.
Very well put, Karishma. But the question also remains about the sticking point, which is agriculture. How much will the US agree on that front is the question that I wish to ask you, because there was that meeting between the chief negotiators of India and the Commerce Secretary here in New Delhi. Is that the sticking point, or is India ready to give in to some of the demands?
I can confidently say that we will not be giving in completely, but there could be a seesaw of conversations between Washington and Delhi to understand. The whole point of negotiation is that you are on a talking table and you try to measure your plus and minus, and until the month of July, the plus and minus were not working out in our favor, and sources have hinted from power corridors that the minuses were exceeding the plus for us. But if now there has to be a mutually bilateral trade agreement, then there needs to be a two-way communication in terms of coming to a point where it needs to be a benefit for all. So if that happens, then I'm sure both New Delhi and Washington would be willing to take forward. In terms of our sticking points, agri and dairy is a sector, Maria, that's of utmost importance to us for our domestic industry and majorly for farmers who are the strength of this country. We'll have to get to the drawing table to understand to what extent can we budge, if we have to budge, but more only after, I think, Minister Goyal comes back to Delhi.
All right, Karishma, I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.